So now we're going to look at how to make simple conversions. And by simple, that means from one unit, for example, centimeters, into a larger or smaller unit, in this case larger, kilometers, or like years into seconds. And the power behind this method is that it allows you to determine very clearly whether you're supposed to multiply or divide by the conversion factor. And that's always the trick. Do you multiply or divide? It makes a big difference if you make a mistake. And so the way the method works is we make a single horizontal line, not too long, but long enough that we can cut this in half, and the block that we create in the upper left up here, we will be able to put in our starting point, which is 34,200 centimeters. This is where we're starting. Now, there is a conversion to go straight from centimeters into kilometers. But if you're not sure, then the best thing to do is to always make two steps rather than just making one single step. So in this first step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from centimeters to meters. So I want you to notice that the first thing I did was to write the units. Since the centimeters appeared on the top up here, they appear on the bottom down here. And you should think of these lines that are vertical as being lines that separate multiplication. So I'll multiply the 2 across here. And this horizontal line you should think as the division line. So we're going to divide the things on the bottom, we're going to multiply the things on the top into this original number. Now that I've got the units in the right place so that I see the cancellation will be correct, I'll cross out my centimeters, and now I need only to put the numbers in. And in this case there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Now that's not the final answer because we're trying to make it all the way to kilometers. So what we're going to do is to extend the line one more place, and now I want to get rid of the meters, and in this case I'll be able to go straight from meters to kilometers. So I'll put in meters, I will go to kilometers. I can see my cancellation, meters on the top, meters on the bottom. Now I only need to put the numbers in correctly. In this case there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. If you look closely, other than numbers, all of the units have canceled. All my centimeters are canceled, all my meters are canceled. The only thing left is kilometers on the top. So when I take this to the calculator, I will now end up with an answer that is in kilometers. It's turned the 34,200 centimeters into kilometers. So let's take a look at how that works. Now you have two choices about how you're going to plug this into your calculator. Even though everything is correct so far, you might still make a mistake. The trick is, because there are two numbers on the bottom, and technically we're going to multiply these two numbers together, but if you choose to do it that way, you have to be very careful to be sure to put it into parentheses. So let's make sure we can see this. So the first thing that we're going to do is to take 34,200 divided by, now it's really crucial that I make sure to put this bottom portion in parentheses. Parentheses 100 times 1,000, end parentheses. And if I hit enter, I get an answer of 0.342 kilometers. So let me show you the other way that you could have done this in your calculator. You can do it one step at a time, and if you're going to do that, then what you'd want to do is to put the 34,200 centimeters, divide by 100, and hit enter. Okay, now we've taken care of the first portion. Now the trick is, what do I do next? Do I multiply or divide? Well, clearly, if the 1,000 were up here, we would multiply. But the 1,000 is on the bottom. So instead, what I want to do is to divide again, this time by 1,000, and I get the 0.342 that we got for our original answer. So just be careful about numbers on the bottom here, that if there's more than one number that's not a 1, then we need to make sure to put those either in parentheses or do them separately. 34,200 divided by 100 divided by 1,000 in separate steps, and always hit equals in between the steps. You know, obviously we're going to ignore the ones because ones don't change anything, and it doesn't matter whether we multiply by 1 or if we divided by 1. The ones don't change anything, so essentially what we do is we ignore all the ones once the conversion is set up. So let's look at a conversion that's not metric. I think most of the people watching this video are probably at least 16 years old. Some might be a little bit older. So let's convert 16 years into seconds. I'll give you some idea of about how many seconds there have been in your life so far. So just like we did with the first one, We'll create that horizontal division line, and we'll create just one single multiplication line. And we will put our starting number, which is 16 years. Now, clearly, years will have to go to the bottom. Now the question is, where do we want to go? It would be a bad choice to go to either months or weeks, because there is not a whole number of weeks or months in a year. So rather than go to that, the best thing would be to go to days. And in this case, for every 1 year, there are 365.24 days. Now if you just use 365, that generally would be fine. It's only going to cause a very, very small amount of error. I can see that my years cancel, and now I have days, but I'm still trying to go further. I want to go into seconds. So let's extend the line at least one more time, one more multiplication line. Obviously days will go to the bottom. And from days, I could go, for example, into hours. So I know that for every 1 day, there are 24 hours. Again, I see my days cancel, but I'm not in the final units, so I will extend it one more time. From hours, I might try to go to minutes. So for every 1 hour, I know that there are 60 minutes. I see the cancellation of my hours. All my units so far have canceled out except for the minutes here. That's still not the final units, so we want to extend it one more time. And now I want to go from minutes to seconds. I know that in every 1 minute that there are 60 seconds. Now this one's a little bit easier because all of the numbers on the bottom are ones, so I don't really have to worry about any of the division on the bottom because it's not going to produce any change in the original number. So let's start with 16. We need to multiply that by 365.24 times 24 times 60 times 60. There's no problem with doing all of this at once because of course multiplication makes no difference the order. Division, it does make a difference how you divide things on the bottom. And we hit enter. This is not putting it in scientific notation, so let's go ahead and switch it. And so we end up with 5.0 times 10 to the 8th seconds. And to put that in common terms, that is approximately a little bit over 500 million seconds in 16 years. Now, time creates a little bit of a dilemma because we sort of have these mixed units with time, and that is that they can be hours, minutes, and seconds. It would be very common, you know, you might say that you took a trip and it took 3 hours, 47 minutes, and 27 seconds. However, if you're going to do math, if you want to, for example, find a velocity or you want to do any kind of calculation with that, you really can't have mixed units. So what we're going to do is this time we're going to convert this 3 hours, 47 minutes, and 27 seconds into hours in one calculation, and then we'll do a separate calculation where we'll turn that into seconds. Now obviously the 3 hours is already in hours, so there's no problem there. So let's look at what we need to do for part A. For part A, I have two sections of my numbers which are not in the right units. They're not in hours. So first I'm going to start with the 47 minutes. Draw my horizontal line and my vertical line. And I will go from minutes, apologize for that, so I will go from minutes, let's go to hours. I know that in 1 hour there are 60 minutes, so let's go ahead and do that calculation. 47 divided by 60 equals 0.78 hours. And we also need to convert the seconds. Now that one's a little bit trickier, so it's going to be 27 seconds. I'll extend a vertical line. And I know that I'm going to show you a little trick. So up in the first calculation, we went from hours to minutes, minutes to seconds. Let's go straight from hours to seconds. And the way that that's going to work is, I know that in 1 hour there are 3,600 seconds. That's 60 times 60. So you can just do it yourself. 60 times 60 is 3,600. This number will be very quickly burned into your memory. So that is 0.0075. Okay, and that will allow us to put our final answer together. So for A, the 3 hours 47 minutes, what I need to do is I now have each of the 3 sections in terms of hours. 3 hours, 0.78 hours, and 0.0075 hours. So now I simply need to add the 3 together. So I'm going to add the 0.0075 to 0.78 plus 3, and I end up with 3.7875 hours. Okay. Now I might also have asked, instead of going to hours, it might have been more convenient for me to go to seconds. So let's do part B right here. So in part B, one of my numbers is already in seconds, but I don't have these two in seconds. So let's turn these two into seconds by starting with, let's do the 3 hours first. 3 hours. And I know that from hours I can go straight to, seconds. And that's 1 hour is equal to 3,600 seconds. So 3 times 3,600 is 10,800. And I need to change 47 minutes. So I know minutes go to the bottom. So I should see the cancellation. And sorry, I should have done that back here. Seconds cancel, minutes cancel. I see all the cancellation. My hours here cancel. And from minutes I'll go straight to seconds. So that would be 60 seconds in every 1 minute. So that's 47 times 60. That's 2820. And so I need to add these numbers to the 27 that I had before. So 3 hours is 10,800, 47 minutes is 2820 seconds, and so now the last thing is to go ahead and add the whole thing together. 10,800 plus 2820 plus 27. And so I end up with 13,647 seconds. And that's how we handle simple conversions. You really want to be sure to obviously plug the correct numbers in, but see the cancellation. See the cancellation, then you know for sure if you're doing the right thing, whether you're multiplying or dividing.